Hello! Welcome to the last final week of the Alchemy of Healing course. We are going to talk about a few things today to wrap up the course, kind of bring it all back together. Everything happens in cycles and circles and loops, so we're going to loop it all the way back to the start, starting with our outcome statement. So if you remember, one of the very first things I asked you to do was to write an outcome statement. And that outcome statement was the thing that got us grounded into what you really want. So we talked about desire last week, we talked about fear, we talked about boundaries, we talked about self-esteem and self-worth, we talked about that mind-body connection. We made all of those connections, and now we're bringing it back to the outcome statement. And the way that I really like to think of the outcome statement as well, when we're going back over it, reviewing it, seeing where do I stand now compared to where I stood then, what did I want to experience, have I experienced some of those things, have I adopted some practices or some new knowledge and integrated that, and how is that affecting my body, my mind-body connection. So we're doing some, right off the hop here, we're doing some reflections into what happened in the last 6+ weeks as you were doing this course. So I think it's really important to evaluate where we were, where we've gotten to, where we still want to go is important too, but the main thing I want to do is celebrate with you today. So we're celebrating our progress, we're celebrating how far we've come, we're celebrating the little wins, even if they aren't big, majestic, obvious wins. If it's enough that you've learned a new practice or you've learned something about yourself, that's a win. It's progress, not perfection. So we want to take a second and intentionally give ourselves a pat on the back for that. And I think that's important. We have to train ourselves to celebrate. So that being said, in our outcome statement, what I also wanted you to kind of focus on when you were writing that was the 7 steps of alchemy, of healing, right? So looking at those 7 steps in your workbook, did you and have you grown in all of the areas of the 7 steps? So being able to have the courage to look at yourself. Even writing that outcome statement was courageous for you to do. We unpacked a lot of our fears, our desires, where we have good boundaries, where we have bad boundaries. So we've looked at these aspects of self that maybe haven't been serving our goals, maybe haven't been keeping us in the healthiest state of being, right? Maybe we're acting on our low self-esteem, or we're saying yes when we actually mean no, and how is that manifesting in the body? So even just opening our minds enough to be able to look at those things, again, is progress. I promise you it's progress, and every little step matters. So even if you don't feel like you're completely healed, which you probably don't, right? This is a lifetime of work. Even just being introduced to these concepts and ideas and getting the ball rolling on them is, to me, I feel like I've done my job, because this is going to set the stage that you get, instead of exponentially spiraling down into more and more inferior health, you're exponentially now on this track to learning more about yourself and your own body, and the power that you have to affect your own healing. So we found the courage to look at ourselves. We've unpacked these things that aren't serving our health goals. We've dove into the mind-body connection and how that works. And I really think that this is one of my overall reasons of being, is to teach this mind-body connection stuff, because there is science out there that backs that there is a connection, and even just inherently intuitively we know there's a connection. Our thoughts affect our hormones, and our hormones affect our body chemistry. So we know that that's true. So why wouldn't we tap into that knowledge and use it, what you could call biohacking or bootstrapping our biology? why wouldn't we do those types of things so that we can have the optimal health and do and take into our own hands what is within our power to do. So understanding that mind-body connection, understanding that words like epigenetics are going to be more mainstream coming up here. Words like embryonic technology, even understanding the way that the chakras work. There's a mind-body connection there. Understanding how the body isn't against us, right? It's actually trying to serve us. And if we can understand that we are the basis of millions and millions of years of evolution, and we kind of talked about this in the self-esteem module, where we are the basis of millions of years of evolution. Our bodies have an intelligence that is far more intelligent than our minds alone, right? Our minds are great, they're rational, but there is this intelligent, anybody who's had a baby or witnessed somebody else who's had a baby, our body just knows what to do. And in a lot of cases, our bodies do just know what to do. And really, it's about getting out of the way of that. And it's about getting out of the way of that healing process that will naturally occur on its own. And sometimes it needs us to give it a boost. And usually that boost is the topic of this week's overall topic, which we're going to talk about a few things, but the overall topic of this week is rest, relax, and nourish, right? That ability to go into rest and relax is really important. And so because we're on this mind-body topic, what I want to address at this point is kind of the science behind why that's so important, why rest and nourish and relax is so important. And that's because we have a nervous system, which is our brain and our spine and all of our nerves, right? And that nervous system is divided into two kind of areas. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which we're more in control of, and we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which we're not as in control of. And right now in our society, we have an imbalance. There's supposed to be imbalance. If not, the parasympathetic is a little bit more dominant, and then you just use the sympathetic as needed. Whenever you have a stress response, that sympathetic nervous system kicks in. So if something unexpected happens, that system can kick in. Or we need to use conscious control over something, that system kicks in, okay? But it's supposed to kick in and then come back down. And then the parasympathetic system, which is all about rest and our immune system and our reproductive health and our mental health and our ability to just turn our brains off. All of that is the parasympathetic system. Our ability to digest and use our food properly. Basically all the functions in the body that you don't have conscious control over is the parasympathetic system. So what's happening right now is instead of this one getting resources and the ability to be turned on, all of the resources are going to this sympathetic system over and over chronically. So when that happens, it's basically like having your foot on the brake and the gas at the same time, okay? And that wears out the body, and it causes anxiety, and it causes depression, and it causes chronic diseases. So what we want to do is be able to shut off the sympathetic nervous system or allow it to go back to homeostasis and allow the parasympathetic system to heal the body. So that actually does have a direct correlation to our mind-body connection, okay? Hopefully that little introduction made sense. If it doesn't, again, in our session together, we can go over it. I can send you more information on that. But that's a little crash course in the way, the dynamics of what's going on in the body that's causing these chronic issues to even happen in the first place. And like I said, a lot of it is controlled by our thoughts and our chronic thoughts that we're thinking over and over again. And those patternings in our thoughts are things that we do have control over. It takes time to heal those things. It takes other people, like having a counselor, having a coach, having a therapist in order to bounce these things off of, because if we could change them ourselves, we would, right? So we actually do need, we're social creatures, we need other people to help us out, and that takes back to swinging back into these 7 steps of the alchemy of healing, that goes back into the courage to unpack these things. Okay, so that's why this is so important. That's why this is my life's work. Okay, it's really, really important for the healing of our species. So, understanding that mind-body connection, approving of self is kind of the foundation of all of it. If we don't approve of ourselves, it makes it very difficult to approve of anything else, our loved ones included. And all of this happens subconsciously at the beginning, but now, hopefully, you're starting to learn more about how your actions and your behaviors are affected by low self-worth or good self-worth, and what the difference is between those two. Okay, integrating all of your aspects of self. So we have all of these different dynamics, and we have all of these different strengths and weaknesses and talents and things that are within us that we label good and bad. And this is where we get more into the philosophy of polarities and dynamics and archetypes and any kind of personality trait that, I mean, I could talk to you for hours and hours about, but just to graze the surface on it, basically, at the end of the day, there is no such thing as good and bad. On one level there is, and then you go down deeper, and it's actually, they're connected. It's like 2 sides of the same coin. Or it's like one stick, but you've got your 2 ends of it. So, as an example, something like, I think I've brought this up before, but something like arrogance. Like arrogance and confidence are kind of almost the same thing. One just has a negative connotation to it, one has a positive, right? But it's basically belief in self. So whether we label it arrogance or confidence is either good or bad. But really, they're coming at the same thing. So if we can integrate that, I'm both arrogant and confident. When somebody comes at me and says, you're arrogant, stop being so arrogant, I can actually take a second and check myself and be like, was I negatively being arrogant? Was I being overly confident for no reason? Or was I just being confident and that triggered them? Right? Because they don't believe in their own self-worth. Now when I can back up and understand that it might not have as much to do with me as it does with them and the way that they're perceiving me, now we can have a conversation about it. And it's like, okay, like I understand that you feel that I'm being arrogant. Can you give me some data as to why and some feedback? And I can do that because I'm not taking it personal, so I don't get triggered. Okay? This is a work in progress. There are certain things that I can do this really easily now, and there are certain areas where I'm still working at it. So that's where coaching is so cool, is because I know that this stuff works because I do it on myself, right? I work through it on myself, and everything that I teach, everything that I coach on, I've tried myself. So I know that it's possible. I know it's possible to heal trauma because I've done it on myself. I know it's possible to integrate these polarities because I've done it with myself. Okay, so that's where I can help you. Developing practices to maintain your growth. This is really important too, because all of these new skills and tools that we've gone through over the last 6 weeks, all of the journal prompts and all of the work that we've done is a practice. It's not something usually that you just do once and then it's done. We're peeling back the layers of the onion, and we have to keep going deeper, keep going deeper, keep going deeper. So these types of daily practices like journaling, like remembering to deep breathe. I have this watch that tells me to breathe now. Anything like that, our daily exercise practices, our practices with how we deal with other people in intimate ways or in social ways. All of this, everything is a practice. Everything is I've heard it said too, everything is a test. But I like the word practice because it's not something that you can pass or fail, right? It's just a practice. We're just learning continuously about ourselves in every single moment. It's so cool. And it starts to be fun. right? Like, it doesn't have to be tedious. And it is at the beginning, and I get that. It is so tedious at the beginning to start looking at this stuff in yourself. And it's painful and annoying and, like, you mean I have to take responsibility for that too? Like, come on. And I get that. I've been there too. But at the end of the day, having been on the other side, having been through that and now on the other side, it's so much fun to be on the other side of it. It's so empowering. So we're developing these practices, and then what happens is, like I said, like, we get to the other side of it, and it's permanent transformation and permanent growth and permanent at the root cause level solution to either that means like there's like I have parts of my body that have healed, I've lost weight naturally, I've like my skin is healthier, and I don't get the chronic coughs that I used to get, my immune system is better. Like, all of these things add up when we're actually healthy and when we've given ourselves the chance to actually relax and nourish the mind and the body. So last page 15 in the workbook, relax and nourish your mind and body. And so this is stuff that you've most likely heard over and over again. We've got the physical things that we do. So one of them that was really helpful for me was I recognized that I shallow breathe, and shallow breathing is a sign, again, of that sympathetic system of your nervous system, and like cortisol is high and adrenaline is high. What we do when that's elevated is we shallow breathe, and we're not taking these like deep, full, relaxed breaths. So recognizing that in yourself of where am I shallow breathing, I'm not actually getting enough oxygen, is really, really important. And what we do when that happens, either you have a watch that reminds you to check in with your breathing, or some kind of other prompt to remind you. Maybe it's when you are starting to feel a little bit anxious, or just noticing it generally. But taking the simplest way, there's all these, there's you can explore breathing techniques, breathing. I have a friend who is really into going to breath work workshops. She's had a big transformation through those. That's great. Those are really cool modalities to explore that really get you in touch with your body. But what I like is really simple. It's really easy. It's really available to me, is just to remember to inhale for 6 counts and then exhale for 6 counts. Inhale for 6 counts and exhale for 6 counts. And based on, I think it's Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute, they say that helps you get back into resonance with your heart. So your heart likes that type of breathing, so you might as well do what your heart likes to do, because it's really what's keeping us alive. So whenever you catch yourself shallow breathing, really easy to do 6 breaths, 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, and do that 6 times. And then there you go. It's easy to remember. The next one is meditation. So meditation is a tricky one, right? Because it's hard for people. It's hard for me. I hate it. What I like, but some people love it, and that's great. So if you love it, if you have a practice, if you get into a practice and it's just easy for you, or you get, it's kind of like running. Some people get the runner's high and they just like keep going with the running. Again, I'm not like that either. I don't mind running, but I have to kind of push myself to do it. And then I feel good after. But as far as meditation goes, I really like to have other types of just like the sitting still and meditating. I either like to have an app guide me through a guided meditation. I like that. I like the last 15 minutes of yoga practice, doing that kind of just like laying meditation in a group. I find it's easier with a group of people, that energy. I teach a thing called orgasmic meditation for couples. That's a practice that's really cool to get you back in touch with your body and the present moment, but really anything that helps bring you back into the present moment. mindfulness, just slowing down, and like we've gone over in a few of the sessions for sure, is that we come into the space intentionally, right? So I didn't really do that in this video, did I, this time? So we kind of went in all guns a-blazing, and I'm really happy with everything so far, but we didn't intentionally ground into the space, and you can kind of feel that I'm a little bit up here, like I'm a little bit, the energy is really high. So just to take a second and to ground and solidify into the moment just can help with coming back into the moment, right? And how important that is, because we don't want to miss anything. We're in this age of FOMO, and we just like, the best way to not have FOMO or fear of missing out is to be in the present moment. And I actually have this theory too, that the reason we get grief stored up in our body and sadness, which eventually can translate into some kind of chronic emotional or physical illness, is because we've spent so much time not in the present moment. And that means we've missed out on part of our life. Every time you're in the future or you're in the past, you're missing out on a part of your life that you can never get back. And our soul, our spirit kind of recognizes that. And our body holds on to that. So that's when we start to store up grief in the body. So if you're somebody who you've started to recognize that you're really sad, or you're depressed, or just everything feels heavy and sad and full of grief, part of it is this buildup of not being present with yourself and with other people, with our kids growing up, with just all of our experiences. Not being able to fully ground and be present in the moment is grief that stores up in our body, and that has to eventually come out, and it'll come out through tears or through that expression of sadness. And that's really good too, to stay present with, instead of making it wrong or bad, or it's not okay to be sad. It's really okay to be sad, because it's moving that grief through your body, and you can do that presently. So that's something that I really think is important too in this whole mind-body connection thing, is that our body exists in the present moment. So we might as well join it. We might as well be in relationship with it, commune with it, communicate with it, and be with it, because it's this amazing, amazing organism, and it has so much to teach us. So meditation, being mindful, walking in nature, being outside has been proven over and over again to be so good for our psychological health. There's something just about being in Mother Nature, being outside, getting fresh air, that it's intuitive, and it's also scientifically proven to be really good for things like depression. Making sure you're doing that on a regular basis as a practice as well. So for me, it's walking my dog. I take him for a walk every day, and that kind of resets my system and gets me out into nature. But you get to choose whatever works for you. There's no right or wrong. It's specific, unique to you and what you want to do with your life, and what you want to do with your practice, and what speaks to you, because we're all different, right? Okay, and then when we go into nourishing the body, this is a very topic that's very unique to you as well. So there isn't a one size fits all. There isn't one diet that's right for every people. Every person, everybody is different. And so I really subscribe to intuitive eating, and just being as happy as you can with your life, with your body, with your, setting the stage, setting yourself up to succeed in just really enjoying your life, making the changes, and having the courage to make the changes that you need to make, so that you're as optimally healthy as you can be. And then a lot of these things fall into place, like your weight management and your body image and all of that will, and the way that you eat will fall into place if you're connected to yourself. And if you love yourself, if you're in relationship with yourself, then you can listen and be like, oh, I really need a steak today. That's what my body needs. Or I really need to eat vegetarian for the next little while. Or this is calling to me, or this. And then you get what you need that way. But it also is good to have some knowledge around nutrition too. And there's some kind of main ones like the B vitamins, magnesium, omega-3, vitamin D, that are vitamin C, that are all just really important, and we know that they are. And eating as many real whole foods as you can, in a diversified way, getting really like scrumptious foods that you enjoy eating. I really think that it's important that you eat real, actual food that Mother Nature made and not processed stuff. Obviously, it's fun to eat junk food too once in a while. Obviously, it's awesome, but just to, as much as you can, like 80% of the time, you're eating good food. But you know all this, right? We're told this over and over again. If you're taking this course, you already know that. So I don't want to go too deeply into that, but just overall, food does matter. It is medicine. It is, if your diet does suck, do recommend getting help with it. Go to an intuitive eating coach. Go to a dietitian. Go to somebody who can really sort you out in that way, because it is one of the foundational things that if it's not good, it's really hard for the rest of your life to be good, because it does affect, it's the building blocks of how we're made. So it is really important. The last thing here that is important in this relax and nourishing your mind bit is exercise. And there's countless studies, there's so much science out there, especially when they've studied antidepressants versus exercise alone. They've studied them together, against placebo. Like, exercise definitely boosts endorphins. It definitely does almost as much, if not more, than antidepressants do. It's just harder to stick to, right? It's harder to be compliant with than taking a pill every day. So that being said, though, it's just to get the energy moving, literally the blood moving through your body and sweating out the toxins, and being social while you do it, and you're building bone mass and muscle mass, and you're moving that energy that you've stored in your body so it's not staying as adipose tissue or fat tissue. Like, all of that is really important. So sweating once a day if you can. Once every other day is good too, but at least 3 times a week you're sweating, and every day you're moving a little bit. So another thing that these handy watches will help you do is to remind you to stand up every hour, which is annoying, honestly, but the sentiment behind it is really good, because sitting is the new smoking. We've heard that too, that we need to be moving around and not just sitting all day. So as much as you can, getting out of your chair, taking a little walk, and then coming back to your work. Okay? And with all of this, with diet, with exercise, with your medication, with everything that's going on with you, health related, making sure that you are talking to your doctor, your pharmacist, your dietitian, your therapist about all of this stuff, because it is unique to you, and we want to make sure that it's all safe uniquely for you, right? So if there's anything that you're concerned about or trying on your own, make sure you clear it with them first, just to make sure that everything's good to go. Most likely it's fine, but just to be cautious in case there is something that's going on with you that they know about or that you know about that may affect these types of things. So that's that. So that's bringing it all together. And this, I want to just spend a minute here emphasizing again how important it is. Like, if you don't take anything else away from this course, what I want you to recognize is that teaching your body to relax and to slow down and to be present and to find peace in the present moment, not only are all of those things possible, and again, I know they're possible because I've done them for myself and I've watched countless other clients and friends do it for themselves. Know it's possible. I know it's the thing that leads to healing. I know it's the thing that leads to living your optimal, most amazing life, is if you can be present and relax and slow down and have a good sense of humor, to laugh, to enjoy this existence as much as you can, which means going slow and letting that parasympathetic system take over in your body so that you can heal, so that your immune system can kick in, so that these natural healing processes that occur in the body actually have the resources and nutrients and energy that they need. Okay, so you're actually allowing your body to do that instead of pressing on the gas your entire life and then wondering why things are wearing down, right? So I really want to emphasize this idea behind slowing down, relaxing, being in the present moment. One of my favorite books of all time is a book called Slow Sex by Nicole Daedone, and she goes over all of this in detail around how to slow down, and she uses the sexual energy as a big example in this, but it applies to everything, right? It applies to the way that you wash your vegetables, to the way that you speak to your children, from the way you're doing it intentionally and you've slowed down enough to relax into the moment and to be tuned in enough to know what that moment requires of you. And whether that's an interaction with your pet or with a loved one or a boss or a coworker, you've slowed down your own thinking enough and your own system is slow enough that you can consciously observe what's going on and you can tune into what's necessary. Okay? And sometimes what's necessary, this is where that integration piece comes in, sometimes what's necessary is something like anger. Somebody crosses your boundary, like we talked about. Sometimes it's really important to express that anger and to use that anger as a tool of like, no, stop. But when you use it consciously, then you can actually guide it into a creative direction, a co-creative direction that you want it to go, that's tuned into the other person and has respect for the other person as well, so that you actually create something new together, as opposed to just kind of bounce your own projections off of each other and then trigger each other and then disconnect from each other, get into fights, get into conflict, and not come back together and actually solve the issue. If you can stay tuned in, it makes life a lot more fun, and it actually can be really, like for me now, it's fun when I get to express my anger because I'm tuned into it. I have approval for it. I know that there's going to be something good that comes out of my expression of it for both me and the other person because I'm conscious with it and I'm in approval of it, if that makes sense. Okay? So I don't want you to just believe me. I don't ever want you to just take this as gospel. I want you to be able to do this for yourself and practically apply this for yourself. So the next steps in doing that is I hope that you've gotten a chance to book your 60-minute session with me, and we can go over literally whatever you want. We can talk about fear, we can talk about desire, we can talk about the mind-body connection, we can talk about boundaries, self-esteem, we can talk about what's going on in your life. Whatever it is you want to talk about, this session is included with this course, okay? So I want you to take advantage of that because that one-on-one dialogue will be very, very fruitful. I know it will. There's lots that I can help with that when I know what's actually going on in real time and I have a real example that we can unpack. The possibilities are endless. So I'm really excited to speak with you and to get to know you and to see what I can do to help you on your healing journey. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this last 6 weeks plus of this self-paced course. I created it out of love and my own creative expression of wanting to give back what I have learned in my own healing journey and all the pain that I've gone through. It's been a lot of pain, a lot of emotional work that I've done. So if I can help anybody else, even just one person, get through that, that's really important to me, and that's why I'm doing this work. So the next steps are to make sure that session is booked with me, and you can do that online. It's pretty easy. Just have to look at my schedule, and then consider coaching, consider getting a counselor, consider keep on going. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what's possible, and so if you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to make really solidify lasting change in your life, go onto my website, check out the testimonials, check out what other people have to say about me, check out what my programs are, what my pricing is. Check it all out just to see. And if you're intrigued, we can definitely have a chat about that too, because I really have a lot that I want to share with you. So I hope you take that opportunity as well. And other than that, good luck on your journey. It's never over. We're in connection now. We know about each other. We know each other exist in the world, which I think is really cool. And we're in connection. So if ever you want to reach out, definitely reach out. And again, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, definitely reach out as well. Okay, have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.